Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to Movie Notes. Today we are talking about The Post, starring Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. It's a new movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Has a lot of the same sort of Steven Spielberg people you would expect to see. He's a big guy in Hollywood, so you can get these big names. And when you were watching this movie, before we get into the whole thing, seeing the ability of the actors in it and the history behind not just the main actors, but the other ones that were there, it's just amazing to see that kind of history on screen at the same time. So that by itself makes this movie very worth it. But then when we talk about the actual story, basically, we have these two people, Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, Kay Graham and Ben Bradlee, who are the publisher and the editor for the Washington Post. And at this time, the Washington Post was still just sort of a local newspaper back in 1971. And basically what happens is they get a chance to reveal a bunch of government secrets involving the Vietnam War and how basically the government's been hiding everything that has been going through with the Vietnam War. And from there, we have basically how do we get the source? How do we tell our source? Will we use it? Should we use it? Who's going to be in fault with that? And it's sort of a inner struggle sort of movie with all of it. Meryl Streep as Kay Graham basically has been thrown into the mix as the publisher because her husband has had an incident. He's committed suicide. Now she is with that, and it's a family family-owned business and everything, and she decides that it's time for it to go public. They need to earn a little bit more money. They're not quite making ends meet, so it needs to go public. And basically throughout the whole thing, it's what's going to happen with our backers. Will they still support us if we go public and this happens, if we bring this out? Tom Hanks is always being we are the news. We have to tell people this. We have to protect the First Amendment, everything like that. So it's sort of one of those back and forth. While we can do it, should we do it? And if we do it, what are the repercussions? If we don't do it, who does that affect? Who still hasn't done all of this? And it's really just a movie all about that. And, these are two that not only do they have this big power with the newspaper, but they also have friends in very high places. Like Meryl Streep is good friends with the Secretary of State. Tom Hanks knew John F. Kennedy and was very good friends with that. And it's sort of their relationships amongst those two. And how does this all work? And it's really interesting how everything really was fit together and how you could see the inner struggle of especially Meryl Streep's character being her family legacy that's basically being put out there with this whole thing and how it's all going through. And there's some really great character development throughout this whole movie, especially on the part of Tom Hanks, where he goes from just, we need to do this to, is this really the right thing? And just the way that it's done, it's very, very well done. It's a very dialogue-driven film. There's not too much suspense past the opening sequence, which is an opening sequence in Vietnam, since that's what it's about. They open up with combat and then go from there. But after that, it's very dialogue heavy, very driven forward. There's a lot of ethics drawn into it and everything. It's one of those types of movies, but very solid performances by perennial Oscar nominees with Streep and Hanks and a lot of other ones. You have obviously the master John Williams behind the baton with the music. It's one of those movies actually that he doesn't get to do much. Like I said, it's a very dialogue driven film, and throughout most of the film I'm listening, it's like there's no music here. No, there's sound effects. There's there's not much. A couple times you get sort of the protest song type things thrown in there where he didn't have to do much. But when it comes to the parts that he really needed to, like the decision making, the showing of the printing press and everything, he really, really captures everything. It's a very good score from that perspective, that when he needed to do something, he was right there. He had that driving force behind it, not as driving as, like, say, his Duel of the Fates. It's more just like a one note dum 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 dum. And I know I'm like sounding like Flash from Flash Gordon, but it's not. It's one of those like strings that has interludes with everything like that. It was very, very well done through all of that. So anyway, it's one of those that it didn't need that much music, so he didn't do that much music, but what he did, like always, was absolutely brilliant. So The Post, it's actually a movie I would highly recommend to a lot of people, especially if you like this sort of government conspiracy type makeup of movie. It's very, very well done. So guys, if you like what you're seeing, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below. Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless all of you. And that's a wrap.